Imagine exploring Uncharted 3, a game all about treasure hunting, when suddenly you find the rarest collectible of them all. A Subway sandwich? Yeah, this along with the Subway cup were real objects, and to make things worse, Nolan North probably wants to forget about the ad.
Hey, I'm Nathan Drake. If you're the adventurous type like me, then get in on the Subway Taste for Adventure. Get your code on 30-ounce drinks today! Subway, where winners eat. Ow.
But hey, at least you can avoid that advertising, unlike the Alan Wake achievement that forced you to watch a commercial. While you're investigating your wife's disappearance, you'll come across some goofy product placement, like Verizon billboards or a branded phone that stays on screen a little too long.
Yoink.
Usually we could just suspend our disbelief. I mean, why would an Alan Wake have a Verizon phone? Well, this is when you look at your achievements, realizing that one of them could be unlocked by checking out some important messages. Okay, let's see how important these really are.
Want access to thousands of applications? Verizon Wireless has you covered.
What?
Now this is meant to be a suspenseful thriller game, and the Verizon ad completely ruins the atmosphere. Not to mention you actually have to watch the entire thing if you want the trophy. But sometimes a Shameless ad is done tastefully, like in Street Fighter 6. When you have a fighting game this over the top, it's probably time to accept that a Chipotle backpack blends right in. That's just the start though. Things get super ridiculous when fans realize they can edit the size of the burrito, leading to pure chaos.
Yeah, boy.
And over in Final Fantasy 15, you'll just be exploring the map when Gladiolus asks you a question.
Hey, do you think we could swing by the cup noodle shop for a sec? There's nothing else like them. They're easy to make whenever you've got a craving, and they're delicious to boot. I'll never forget my first time.
Now we just shrug this off as a tiny product placement. I mean, a throwaway line in an open world isn't really distracting. The guy probably just loves cup noodles. Well, that's until you actually go to the shack and realize it was just a taste of the most notorious ad in gaming.
Then, if you take something already delicious like cup noodles and add in the finest, freshest ingredients, what do you get? The ultimate flavor experience. So I ask you, Noct, what's your favorite ingredient?
After choosing your option, this begins an entire 10-minute quest with full-on cutscenes and dialogue, all dedicated to the beauty of cup noodles. By the end of it, you'd expect an insane reward, but first there's something important to tell you.
You know something? Going through all that trouble to make our own custom cup, it's made me appreciate cup noodles even more.
Wait, that's it?
Huh?
If you haven't already guessed, your reward for doing this entire thing is, of course, cup noodles. Square Enix must have been rolling in the cash from this one. Now, anyone who's played Mario Kart 8 definitely knows about the Mercedes car, but it is just the tip of an iceberg that leads to the most absurd Nintendo crossover I've ever seen. Driving a Mercedes makes sense, but that's only because it's Mario Kart. When players decided to boot up Mario Maker, this is the last item they were expecting. This is so absurd that people think that it's fake or a mod to this day. But this was actually real, and somehow things get crazier. To advertise the crossover in Japan, Nintendo released a live-action Mercedes commercial featuring a terrifying Mario. And somehow, it gets worse. Yeah, probably the weirdest ad I've ever seen, but Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker actually holds a world record for Shameless promotion. You need some health? No problem. Just eat Doritos and drink Mountain Dew. Or maybe you want to increase your sight. I got you covered. Here's some Axe body spray. This was so bad that you couldn't even escape the ads during missions.
About that cassette player Galvez was carrying. It had the Sony logo on it. The product name is Walkman. I gave it a listen, and you wouldn't believe how good the sound quality is for something so tiny.
Not gonna lie, I wasn't expecting Solid Snake to sell out.
Tell you what though, it's a fine piece of work. It'll let me listen to my music when I want, where I want.
When it comes to product placement, you want it to enhance your gaming experience, not take it over. And that's why Fight Night 3 has the greatest cornerman of all time. When you're prepping for a boxing match, there's only one ally that'll never betray you, and that's the King.
From Los Angeles, California. What is that?
At least the entire game isn't designed around a brand, because that'd be kinda ridiculous. Wait, someone actually did that? Yeah, turns out Darkened Sky appears to be an original fantasy on the surface, but as you play, one thing sticks out. Skittles are everywhere. In fact, you actually need to collect these in order to use magic, and depending on the type of Skittle, you perform a different spell. This entire game was built from the ground up to be an ad, and yet you'd never realize this from the box cover. It was a total bait and switch. Imagine coming home with your brand new fantasy game, only to boot it up, look inside a monster's stomach, and find...
A Skittles. mysteriously unaffected by centuries of digestive activity. You see, marketing didn't want us to show us Skittles all narfed up from stomach juices, so they decided, I'll shut up now.
Although sometimes product placement can be impressive, Call of Duty is basically synonymous with Doritos and Mountain Dew, so whenever they collab, it's not really surprising. But that's why they decided to switch up things with Black Ops Cold War. Instead of just being lazy with the branding, they made it accurate to the 1980s, dropping bags of chips with the old design.
Nice.
And over in WWE 2K18, fans were trying to platinum the game when they realized an insanely hard achievement had the KFC logo on it. Weeks went by and fans chalked it up to shameless advertising, but that's until a secret character appeared in the roster. Let's just say we were not prepared because the whole thing was leading up to play as Colonel Sanders. And even hardcore veterans of games like Rainbow Six will never notice the brands hiding right in front of them. Frost is one of the oldest characters in the game, yet no one talks about the fact that she's literally wearing Under Armour. If you want these designer brands, you actually have to pay a ridiculous amount of money for them, which makes it even funnier when it's on something as tiny as Bucks Oakley's ski goggles.
Bruh.
Some would say if you remember an infamous ad, it's a job well done. And you could definitely argue that Death Stranding killed it. Millions of people know how you can drink Monster Energy and even convert your water, pee, and sweat into it. Pretty distracting, but there was a different ad that went totally under the radar, and it was hilarious. Anytime you went into the shower, the doors would close, jump scare you with a commercial for an AMC show.
Secrets of the Beaches and the Death Stranding.
Wait, it's Norman Reedus' show? Come on, this had to be part of the contract or something. Now, most people write off these advertisements as lost art, something that games don't really bother with anymore because we have microtransactions. But maybe we're just not looking hard enough. Massive blockbuster titles like Spider-Man 2 are secretly full of brands, and sure, it's easy to miss while you swing through New York. But if you stop at Times Square, there are a ton of parody stores and fake logos, except for one that sticks out like a sore thumb. Adidas. The windows are full of upcoming products, and once you've noticed this, it's impossible to ignore the NPCs. Most of them are repping Adidas too, from the clothing to the backpacks. Even people in the cemetery had to get the logo in while grieving. Kinda awkward. That's not all though. Sony must have got a ridiculous paycheck because Miles Morales' entire suit is designed by Adidas. Yeah, the canon outfit that players laughed at, it was product placement. And that's not the only brand that was heavily featured. We're heading back to Alan Wake because if you thought Verizon was bad, wait until you pick up some batteries for your flashlight. Now this is essential to the gameplay, not only lighting up dark rooms, but also attacking your enemies. This is a pretty handy tool, except the entire thing is powered by real-life Energizer batteries. Yikes. And it looks like the devs took some inspiration from Pikmin 2, where you'll find treasures like Duracell batteries. This is the very first collectible you'll find in-game, and if players thought that was all, they had a nightmare of branded treasures waiting for them. There were gummy bears, Dr. Pepper, Dannon yogurt cups, 7-Up caps, it was just way too much. In fact, NBA 2K fans will be very familiar with how greedy the devs can be. If microtransactions weren't enough, the ads have even leaked into career mode. You'll just be trying to become a pro, only to be greeted by a good friend?
Hey, neighbor, are you Jake from State Farm? Oh, you hang out here, bro?
Why is the guy from car insurance commercials in my basketball game? And that's not the only time a promotion felt out of place. In Life is Strange, you can interact with a TV that gives you an interesting side topic.
Maybe I could sneak in and watch Final Fantasy Spirits Within. I don't care what anybody says, that's one of the best sci-fi films ever made.
By the way, the movie was a total box office bomb. Kinda reminds me of the time Ubisoft wanted to promote their upcoming game within one of their other games. As you sneak through the dark hallways of Splinter Cell Chaos Theory, you can overhear two NPCs having a convo.
He's got the new Prince of Persia. Yeah, I heard it's awesome. Gonna be Game of the Year.
Sometimes product placement can be genius though, like in Tomb Raider 2. During those infamous underwater missions, Lara Croft wears a real-life swimsuit and the marketing team knew exactly where players would be looking. So they stuck the Solo logo right in the middle of her chest, and yeah, these guys had no shame. Still not as profitable as an ad that vacuumed money out of players' wallets. In EverQuest 2, they secretly added a command called /pizza, and if you typed this in chat, it took you to a special website. This lets you order Pizza Hut from inside your game, and if this caters to anyone out there, it's definitely the MMO fans. But over in Shaq Fu, this entire thing is an ad, and I mean, it's kinda obvious. But when Shaq got the chance to make his own game, he decided to have fun with it, so he added a nod to real life. If you're ever in need of health, you can pick up
Icy Hot. Nice.
This is the real-life cream that Shaq actually uses. And those were the most shameless ads in video games. It's been Sammy. Keep it here on T5G.